Today, rain pounds the Southland. This is Corey, and this is the O The Anthem podcast.
I'm not sure you're allowed to use pounds on the radio in the demonstrative way of pounds. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Rob. Welcome to episode 351 of the O The Anthem podcast, coming to you from the hashtag OTA LA studios, high above the 110 freeway in downtown Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you know, I really just wanted to use that because it's a term I had heard before, and I'd never actually gotten to say it out loud. And since there was actual rain in Los Angeles today, I figured it was a good enough time as any.
It is a rare occasion, so you might as well take advantage. I learned about the rain because I've learned that there's also one flaw in my plan of riding a scooter everywhere and not having a car. It's that sometimes it rains in LA. Very rarely, but sometimes it does.
From time to time.
Yes. Maybe I should make that one of my resolutions, since we are going to be talking about resolutions this episode.
Yes. And we went back. We couldn't find resolutions from past. It was like a couple years past, right?
Yeah, so last year, it looks like we didn't do resolutions because, as is frequently the case, we didn't realize it was New Year's until after it was New Year's.
Once it was 2020, we realized?
I think what happened is we recorded them in advance, and we didn't realize that, like, oh, this is going to be the one that happens right before New Year's. And then we got back, and we're like, oh, it's a little late to do them, so, oh, well. The year before we did do some resolutions, and then the year before that we didn't, but that's because that was the year that we were both on vacation in Maryland, and I just don't think we thought about it.
Yeah.
The year before that's the first year we moved here. The year before that was the year of your vacation to Wyoming, which backed on my vacation to Puerto Rico, and we had like 4 weeks in a row that we pre-recorded, so we didn't have them then either. And the first year in LA, my resolution was to not jump off the Santa Monica Pier when I was here by myself in a brand new city on Christmas. So mission accomplished. That happened. But yeah,
I passed.
I think that being quarantined, locked inside, the whole nine, has put the resolutions thing in a whole new mind frame, though, of thinking about how to conquer a new year, since theoretically, we're going to get somewhere close to normal again next year.
I mean, at some point, I think that if anything, this year has sort of illuminated to me the idea that a lot of resolutions are binary. Like, I've probably said many times throughout the course of my life, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to start working out. I'm going to do all these things. And sometimes when I really commit myself to working out and eating well and everything that relates to it, I find myself going all in, like only salads, only water, like nothing else. And it's been to my detriment because eventually I just fail, like when that goes on, you know? So I think the way to think of a New Year's resolution this year, at least for me, is like I want to start getting on the path. I want to get on the right path towards better habits and better eating and better working out and all that sort of stuff that goes with it, because it's going to become a lot harder the older you get. Like, I just know, you know, my knee hurts right now and I'm 36. So I know that come 46, this knee is not going to cooperate nearly as much. And if I'm the same weight I am then as I am now, then it's going to be really difficult to get rid of it. So
yeah, I'm reminded that I have knee pain because I spent some time rehabbing the knee, and I was like, I'm going to just keep doing this and keep working out. And that did not work out. But I did rehab some pain that I was having in my knee earlier. But then we get one rainy day, and I'm just like, man, like just knee is feeling real rough today.
Yeah.
But it doesn't when I feel better and I stretch every day and, you know, I'm doing the basic things, then it doesn't hurt every day. So I know that that's another thing too. I really should have pulled that picture set I have of you in like 06 and me in 09. Because when I'm at my worst, you were at your best. And then like 3 years later, I got my shit together, but you had backslid a little bit by that time. So
I think we've never been. I don't know if we'd ever categorize either of us as super thin.
No,
but we've never been thin at the same time, you know? Like
never been single at the same time either. That's the strange thing. It's, every time I break up with one of these hussies, you find yourself in a relationship. I try to get him to bide some time on Tinder so I can just take care of situations and then relationships. So what are you going to do? All right, so I'm down with the entire like eating better and taking care of yourself. And another thing I think this year has kind of put me in mind for, and we're going to mention it later on when we talk about COVID, is that California is rationing care now.
Yeah.
So that we're at negative 10% ICU, which means they're just setting up ICU beds anywhere they can put them. And if it's me, unhealthy, former smoker, overweight, 36-year-old, and 22-year-old USC football player, and they're like, we got one ventilator. Don't say anything. Just give it to him.
Yeah.
Because the likelihood that he survives that is just statistically higher.
Right.
So, I mean, in the end, obviously, I don't think it'll be that big of a problem, and let's fingers crossed that doesn't come to that at all, ever, at least for me. But the idea that being in better shape is better for everybody, and of course, like you did it much younger than I did, but at 30 or God damn, 27 when I got in shape, it was hard. I know that at 37, it's going to be exponentially harder. Yeah. But not now, then it's just going to be impossible at some point. And the knees are only going to get worse. The shoulders are only going to get worse. The back's only going to get worse. So I want to say specifically for you, though, because I know, I can't remember if you've mentioned it on the podcast or not, but menthol cigarettes are going to be illegal in California shortly. And I know that you've kind of been saying, if not here, then other places, like, well, it seems like a good time for me to just, call it on this. So
yeah, I mean, the problem is that for the better part of, I think, Christmas a year ago, I was saying to my family, I think I'm rounding into the place where I'm ready to quit. And I didn't say to anybody like, on January 1st, I'm just going to stop or something like that. I think I kept saying to myself, I'm going to formulate some sort of a plan.
Yeah. And then you run out in the middle of the day, and it's like, well, I'm gonna go get a pack just to stretch me till I can go to sleep on my last cigarette, and then wake up on a brand new day. Just never seems to work out that way.
No, and I mean, like, I know that. I mean, really, the thing is that I've been smoking menthol cigarettes for my entire life. So I'm trying to. It's one of those things like, do I want to quit with dignity or do I want to quit kicking and screaming, like smoking some other like just regular light cigarette and like hating myself and then like.
I know you. The inevitability is you will drive to Nevada and come back with 3 cartons of cigarettes. Yeah. So like this is all they let me carry across the border. Like, all right,
next time I do it, I'm like, it was cheaper in Arizona. Listen, it only cost me $20 to charge the car across to get those. And then so it seems well worth it to get.
You get a mysterious call. You're like, yeah, 20 minutes. You disappear. You come back. And I'm like, this is very familiar to me. I thought we moved to California for a reason. You're like, nah, it's my cigarette guy. I got a menthol guy. He brings him in on a truck.
Just made a fresh run from Mexico.
And you don't want to do that. The last thing you want to do is be like, I've made it this long without a criminal record.
But I also don't want Newsom to fucking win. Like, there's a part of me that like,
don't do that.
No,
don't say your desire to smoke is somehow about fucking Gavin Newsom.
I've thought about it. I've seriously thought about it. There is a current recall vote that is out there, and it's gaining steam because people are pretty fucking sick of Newsom. Mostly Republicans, but
you're making a COVID denier argument right now.
I'm. Something tells me if I wake up on the 1st, if I haven't quit by the 1st, then I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna buy some non-menthol cigarette.
The 1st, that is 3 days from now. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Before the next episode of the podcast, exactly. I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna have to buy some like just regular Marlboro Lights, and I'm gonna be like, oh fuck, I gotta quit. And then I'm gonna immediately, before I quit, I'm gonna sign the thing to. Get Newsom thrown out, have a recall election on Newsom, just like fuck you, dude. Like, and that's the thing, like it's it sucks because it doesn't feel like my choice anymore, which would have made it stick a little bit better, I think. Yeah. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I don't think you should be legislating like what if cigarettes are legal. You should just let any cigarettes be legal. I mean, like the whole thing was to keep. It started with vape
flavors.
Flavors,
yes, which are also going to be illegal as of the whatchamacallit.
Just plain water from now on?
The funny thing is I can ship vape flavors into the state. You can't ship cigarettes, but I can ship vape flavors into the state. So basically the shop where I go now.
Ooh, where's the nearest Indian reservation?
Oh,
maybe I can go.
There's that casino outside of town.
I should have said Indian, but I didn't mean that. But
I mean, I think in this case it's the Department of Indian Affairs. So I do believe that it's an Indian reservation.
Oh, okay.
Now they probably wouldn't like that.
If I offended anyone, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it. I come from an old time. I feel like I'm gonna be that grandfather. It's just like he was born in the 80s. He's not quite with it.
I'm relatively certain it's still the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which actually makes me think like maybe we should do something about that.
Until Cleveland has a new name, I think I'm in fair game somewhere in here. Anyway,
as long as you're not like Chief Wahoo smoking a cigar outside of your apartment. But no, I think it's just outside because there's a casino, Indian casino right outside of.
I believe so. I might have to look into that.
Yeah.
That might be the stopgap until.
But
so I can quit in January with dignity.
The thing
and then I don't have to recall Newsom.
How do they get it into the state? Because their reservation doesn't go to the border.
Here's the thing I don't think a lot of people realize is that menthols are going to be legal in 2021. I think a lot of people are in for a rude awakening. So I think the recall Newsom thing might gain a lot of steam
real quick.
Yeah. I just imagine there's a lot of people who just wake up like fucking the worst year ever. I'm still somehow like I've whittled myself down to like a pack a week that I like ration off.
Yep.
Because my life is so miserable and I haven't worked, and then all of a sudden it's just like you go to the grocery store and it's just like, nope, full flavored or lights. It's just like, what is this? What is this?
Well, cloves will still be available, so you can always go that route.
Oh, cloves?
Clove cigarettes, yeah.
Oh, no, cloves are way illegal.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, since when? Because I bought those, not recently, but in
New York, way back when?
Yeah.
In college, yeah.
I just had to think about the last time I had a clove cigarette. I'm like, oh yeah, in the West Village when I was in college. Oh god, that was so long ago.
Because there was a place where cloves were legal. Because I remember I went to. That was
15 years ago.
Yeah, I went to New York at some point like 10 years ago, and saw Megan, and we had a discussion about cloves, and she said they were illegal, and I'm like, no way, why? She's just like all the reasons that things should be illegal.
Yeah.
And then
poisoning your body.
Yeah, and then she was just like, yeah, but New Jersey still sells them. And I think we like next time I was in New Jersey, I got some on the way or whatever. But I feel like if it's legal, it should be legal in full. Let people decide themselves whether or not they want to like smoke menthols or not.
And I agree when it comes to vape flavors. I'll let Corey have his menthol cigarettes if you don't take away my strawberry. For some reason, strawberry flavored vape stuff is and it attracts kids. Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. The shop I went to carded me for the first 6 months that I went there, and I was like, I work down the street. I'm here like every week, and he's like, need to see your ID, man. I'm like, okay, all right. But now he's shifting gears, and so he's becoming a head shop and selling like equipment. Mm-hmm. And so he's going to still have the filters. And then he just gave me this website where I can buy the flavors and have them shipped to me. So we're just going to do that instead. Because if I have
now until Newsom figures out about your loophole, and then you'll sign my recall.
No, see, Corey, you go the recall route. I go drive to Sacramento and build a guillotine out in front of the governor's mansion and try to send a message.
You got to put it in the French Laundry, not in Sacramento. That's
oh yeah, I got to go where he is. So to the French Laundry. And I do want to say before
expecting him to be at the office. How dare you?
Before we jump into the news of the week, I want to point out this is the first Christmas season that we have both been in LA since we moved here, and I'm reminded of the first year when this is a really crappy time to be in LA. Nobody's here. The Santa Anas are blowing in all the allergens, so my allergies are crazy, which is awesome when everybody's looking for a little cough or a sniffle for COVID.
Yeah.
And it just rains the entire time. Like today's just been rainy all day.
Yeah. It rained a little bit here and there. It squirted a little bit here and there, but like nothing too ridiculous. And I don't know. Like it's such a weird place to live because it toys with you with their 300 consecutive days of no rain.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it rains and you're like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, what the fuck?
By the way, Love all the green stuff around. Love the trees. Love the grass. I just don't want anything that keeps that growing. I don't want any of that.
It's I think people hearing us from wherever they are probably doing the same thing where they're just like, oh, fuck you, Southern California and your sunshine and everything like that. But literally everyone has something like this, because I seem to remember being in Maryland and then all of a sudden it was like April 8th or something like that, and they're just like, expect a snowstorm tomorrow, and I'm just like, fuck you, Maryland. Like, get your house in order. Like, what the hell is this? Snow in April? I'm not doing this.
But by the way,
I didn't agree to this.
I complain about Maryland because if you're going to snow. Don't give me this like 1/2 an inch where I don't even get out of work. All right. You're just inconvenienced. And you know, when California rains, it rains. It rains so much that some dude does a Yui on the 101 and blocks 2 lanes of traffic. So good for him. But yeah, it's a mess. It's good though.
It is funny that there's a never ending stream of content out there of people in LA reacting to the rain. And it never ceases to amaze me, because people like go to their like most base elements of like survival at the fittest.
They're not built for it. Not built for it. Listen, if COVID season, if this rainy day in COVID season has taught me anything, it's that every apocalypse movie you've ever seen is absolutely correct. 2 days in, people are going to start losing their minds, and it's not going to take a week before we get the first story about somebody eating somebody else in their apartment building. Just like, what happened? It was rainy. I slipped off the road, so I just walked back home and ate my neighbor. And I'm like, bro, the convenience store down the street still has burritos. It's
His
okay.
dog was antagonizing me.
No, it's the other neighbor's dog that told me to do it. That's where you're missing. I'm completely normal, completely functional, but a 1A's dog told me to go eat 1D, so I ate him, and he was delicious. But yeah, so Happy New Year's to everybody. You're listening to this beforehand. Also, Joyous Kwanzaa, which I've realized, or I've been told, is the proper greeting, and we are in the fourth night, I think, or fifth night of Kwanzaa. So Joyous Kwanzaa to all of you, and if you're still celebrating, Happy Festivus to all of those folks.
We didn't even have an airing of grievances.
Listen, this podcast every single week is my Festivus celebration. Just wait till we talk about Marco Rubio.
A 52 week celebration of Festivus.
Yes, I am not what you might call a Orthodox Festivus follower. I'm a Reform, where we just we go every week and we talk about it. The opposite of the kind of Catholic that Corey is. He celebrates his Catholicism a couple times a year. I celebrate my Festivus every single week.
Listen, it's COVID season. I'm trying to be safe. I'm getting away from mass, and I'm
yeah, remember to tell St. Peter
don't want to do
that.
anything about these.
Remember to tell St. Peter that when you get up to the pearly gates. Like, listen, buddy, there was COVID. He's like, that was 11 months. What about the other 9 years, huh? How about that? All right, so of course the biggest story of this week that wasn't, COVID or Christmas, I guess, is what happened in Nashville. And I can tell that we are relying more and more on social media for news, because I did not hear about it until today. When I work, I turn on CNN for the first hour, 2 hours of my work day, and I will watch some CNN just to stay up on the news.
Hausfrau, got it?
Yes, very much the Hausfrau I have always complained about. However, I then turn it off. And I turn on something else. Like, I watched the 12 Monkeys show from Sci-Fi all the way through.
Okay.
It was 145-minute episodes. Took me 3 weeks. So that's what I do during the day. But I do watch a couple hours of CNN.
45-minute episode. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Ran for 5 seasons.
Did it?
But the first season was like back in 2013. 14. So it was like the full 22 episode.
Oh my God.
45. It was like an hour-long show, 22 episodes. Back in the glory days of television before the streaming thing really took over. But it stayed alive because of streaming. So we think that. Nonetheless, turned on CNN this morning and I was like, there was a bombing?
Yeah.
And then it was just like, I'm not going to check social media to find out, but I just on Slack was like, Nashville ? And people were like, how did you not hear about this? I'm like, oh. Yeah, it was Facebook and Twitter and everywhere I would normally have heard about it. I'm not checking. But so we got a little more information this morning. And I don't want to talk about necessarily the event because there's still a lot that we don't know. And Corey has a no hot takes policy after he got caught with his metaphorical pants down in a hot take from a few, I guess, years ago now. Has it been years?
I mean, it would have been 4 years ago or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
We've been doing this a long time. So I don't want to talk necessarily about the event. If you haven't heard, essentially there was a man who drove an RV into downtown Nashville, and then a warning went out.
Yeah, there was like
a loudspeaker.
Like a loudspeaker that was saying, in 14 minutes the bomb's going off or something like that.
And somebody heard it and called the police, and to their credit, the police went in and weren't like, what's this crazy thing? They evacuated people, and when the bomb went off, it injured 8. The only person killed was the bomber, the person in the building.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to talk about it is because the first 4 hours of coverage this morning on CNN were like terror in Nashville and the terrorist and the things. And then I was thinking the whole time, what do we know?
Yeah.
Do we know that this is terror? Is this an act of terror? Because it's not. We do have, let me confirm, we have very much right-wing, conservative, white terror organizations in America. What you don't see from them is the suicide bombing. They don't do that typically.
Yeah.
And also they don't give you a warning because they want to kill people. So what it sounds like to me is maybe this is somebody with mental health problems and used a bomb to commit suicide. And basically at noon, I keep saying Minneapolis because it's MN on their MNPD.
Yeah.
But it's the Metro Nashville Police Department. Did a press conference where they're like, we've seen it reported it was terrorism. I just want to say, our first thing was we don't know. It might be terrorism, but now we're learning more about the subject, and so they kind of calmed all of this terrorism talk. But I think that it's important for people to keep in mind that we jump a lot on the terrorism thing. And I think this is the danger of kind of our world, where we say terrorism is not an act, because as you pointed out in our pre-show discussion, the act of terror, people were terrorized, but it wasn't really that.
It's a spectrum. I mean, like, there's no way you can say that this isn't a terrorist act per se, because the act created terror. Like, there's no, it's a low bar per se, but like he cleared it. Much like, if somebody's walking past me in the street and I just like wisp a bit of their hair or something like that, legally, by definition of the law, I could be found guilty of assault.
Yeah.
But I think there's a big difference between wafting a little hair and beating the shit out of somebody until they're unconscious or something like that. Like there's a large radius between there which can be covered.
And the court would look at the same thing. What was the intent?
Yeah.
Was the intent to harm? And in this case, was the guy's intent to use terror as a weapon in addition to the bomb?
Right.
And I don't think, again, that's the problem with the suicide bombing, is that you can't then follow it up with another bomb, which is the point of terrorism, is to make you afraid of the next thing.
Right.
It sounds like this guy had mental health issues for sure. It sounds like there were other things going on. I'm not going to say QAnon, but probably QAnon, where he had read a lot of stuff and he had been connected to some people. Like, he ended up transferring all his property to other people. Mm-hmm. And those people have been shown to be very deep in the QAnon conspiracy. So, yeah. But it's a tragedy no matter what. And I feel the worst for the small business owners. There's like 4 or 5 of them where they did nothing wrong.
Right.
It's just where this guy found a parking spot.
Yeah.
He found a parking spot in front of their shops. And they're like, one of the guys, again, was on the news and he was just like, we made it through. I had to lay some people off, but we were pushing through, and I was just about to rehire some folks back, and now I don't know. I don't know what to do because obviously I can't rehire the people, and the people who are coming in every day, I can't pay them if I don't have a shop. Yeah. So what do you do in that situation? It's not great. But I think my point was just that let's be careful with throwing around the word terrorism.
Well, I think more than anything, if you want to refer to it as like Nashville terrorist, I get it. Like, it's an easy way to understand the shorthand of what you're talking about. But to me, more the issue was I was following it a little bit on social media as it was going on. And it was clear we didn't know a lot right away. And there was a lot of information that didn't get cleared up until this morning. But there was a lot of people who want it to come down on one side of it or another before other people do. And this is something that's been happening a lot, the last couple of years, where we get information so quickly and we feel like we got enough of the story to make decisions about how we feel about it or where our ideologies lay in determining how we're going to feel about it. We talked about the if we pulled some random guy out of Bismarck and asked him about random local issues, how often he would probably side with the Democratic side of it if it was completely separated from who he is personally. I think a similar thing could be said about this. Like, everyone wants to come up with their decision so quickly so that they can be on one side or the other of whatever the issue is. But a lot of these things don't have sides or like issue. It's not an issue that leans politically or requires some sort of like, yes, there's a problem with terror and there's problems with like lone wolf white people who go out and commit these terrorist acts. But, this seems like it was more for attention. Again, I don't know. I'm just sort of postulating here, but like it's, we don't have to know right away. That's part of the problem. Like,
no, I need to know, Corey.
Yeah.
I need to know right now.
Well, yeah, and I told it was the vaccine example I gave you earlier. Like, if I told you in March we'd have a vaccine by the end of the calendar year, you would be like, whoa, that's pretty ambitious. That's a lot. That's quick. I don't think
I think we did have that conversation.
Yeah, and it's not that it's not true, but you want to say yes or no because of things that you feel and like how you think things are being handled, and not everything goes to that. Like, the doctors aren't watching CNN trying to figure out when they're going to release the vaccine. Right. They're just working on it all the time until it's done.
Scientists are apolitical. They are fighting the virus, and if they could have gotten it in 1 week, they would have given it to us in 1 week, no matter who's president or anything else.
Yeah.
So, and I really, one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up also is just because they had an expert on afterward who kind of just basically wrapped up by saying, I watched your previous segment and I want to point out that fixing this America's First policy that we've had under Trump is going to cause is much more important than, yes, there is a white conservative right terror problem. But it's much more important the fact that, this president moved the embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, which upset a lot of very, very far right political groups when it comes to the Islamic countries. And that's going to be a bigger deal in the long term. Like, 9/11 wasn't planned in 2000. It started planning in 1990. First attempt was in 92. Then there was additional planning. There was additional bombings in the mid-90s. And then 9/11 happened in 2001. There is a chance that action 2 years ago started the planning towards something that may happen 6 years from now.
Yeah.
So Joe Biden really needs to focus on moving forward now and saying, hey, I got to fix this America's First problem. Mm-hmm. Yes, we got to deal with the Nazis, the fascists too. But also, terrorism is really going to be an international and a domestic problem. And the white lone wolf is going to be joined by other terrorists, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unless we do some things to fix it. And that fix, I think, is going to be both domestic and international. Because, let me find it. Here we go. The image that I have is the divided states of America. Like, that's where we are now. 4 years. I was listening to a podcast today, and they said, we are lucky that we had very little outside influence, other countries influencing us in the 2020 election. But what we learned is that this is kind of a long-term problem, in so much as when they did it once in 2016, it will have long-standing effects, because they basically said, hey, here's a problem. Here's a crack in the concrete. It's going to be a cold week. Let's drop some water in there. And they did. And it drove us apart and drove us apart and drove us apart. And now we have to figure out how to come back together. And people like me, and to some extent, people like you as well, say Joe Biden needs to not be conciliatory. We need to start taking people to task. We need to censure the House members who joined the Supreme Court case. We need to do the things that need to be done.
Yeah, I mean, 2 degrees. I think that Joe.
You and I are very much different degrees on that.
Well, no, I know, but I'm saying, like, I think Joe's side of this is about finding common ground with the reasonable people who are willing to discuss this with you.
Like Mitch McConnell, yes, the reasonable people.
Exactly, the firm hand of Mitch McConnell. I don't really think that. I don't think Joe thinks that he's going to get anywhere with some of the most conservative members, like the types who signed the thing. I think he's just hoping that if he can work enough with the Mitt Romneys, the Susan Collins, the Lisa Murkowskis, those types, he can find a space to operate between the two and then maybe bring it out to a larger Republican, like let Mitt do the talking for me kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just don't think that there's really coming back, because so much of this issue is just that Republicans or Democrats are evil. And if that's going to be your baseline for why you feel something about a particular politician, then you're going to have a bad time. Like I talked about my wanting to sign the recall on Newsom. It's not because I have a hatred for all Democrats and Newsom in particular. It's because
they want to take your cigarettes away.
Newsom did something that upset me personally. And that's how I feel about it. Like I'm never, my view of Newsom is forever going to be tainted by decisions he makes.
Oh, yeah, I hate him because of the French Laundry, and because basically he gave carte blanche for everybody in California to just be like, well, fuck it. And they did. They absolutely did. But one of the reasons I want to talk about this is you talk about reasonable Republicans, and I want to take a not reasonable Republican to task. And I pulled up the tweet because I don't want to misquote him, but we said a little bit about Marco Rubio. I believe it was last week, because he has been railing against vaccination and vaccines, against COVID, and he has kind of joined the chorus of people who have not called out the president for saying it wasn't really a pandemic. It's not really that serious. It's going to just go away like a miracle. Just wait. And then he went and got the vaccine. And by the way, Marco Rubio, healthy 51-year-old guy. There are many members of the Senate and the House who were offered the vaccine and said, no, we're going to wait until it's our turn in line because they're also younger and healthier. I get that Schumer at 77, 78, probably not on that list because he is high risk. I would do very terrible and morally questionable things to get my dad a vaccine because he's high risk, but he's not special. So he's not even getting offered one at this point.
Yeah.
But to have Marco Rubio get the vaccine, jump the line, get the vaccine, young, healthy man, and then to post this. Dr. Fauci lied about masks in March. Dr. Fauci has been distorting the level of vaccination needed for herd immunity. It isn't just him. Many in elite bubbles believe the American public doesn't know what's good for them, in quotes, so they need to be tricked into, quote, doing the right thing. Marco Rubio questioning many in the elite bubbles. Millionaire Senator Marco Rubio, who lied about why his parents came to America. They didn't come fleeing Castro. They came for economic opportunity, which he then routinely tries to deny to other people of color, including Hispanic people. Elite Marco Rubio, who got a vaccine before everyone else. Young, healthy Marco Rubio, who skipped the line because he's a senator and in an elite bubble, a bubble like, I don't know, the United States Senate. Believe the American public doesn't know what's good for them, so they need to be tricked into doing the right thing. You went and got the vaccine, Marco. You don't get to get the vaccine and then call to question the level of vaccination needed for herd immunity. Because if you really thought that, you would have trusted herd immunity. You would have trusted that, hey, you know what? We're going to get 30% of the people in stage 1, and that's really all we need. After that, we'll be fine. Great. You don't need it then.
The amount of what I think is funny is like I'm sure Rush. I haven't listened to Rush in forever, but I'm sure Rush is keen off on COVID and all the people and everything like that. He's doing the same shtick. He might die in the next week or two.
God, I hope so.
And I bet you if you asked him right now, do you want the COVID vaccine? He'd take it.
100%.
And then he'd go on the air and he'd rail against it.
Never admit it to anybody.
Yeah. And if he happened to live for an extra 6 months, then he would be feeling confident that he was vaccinated against the COVID vaccine. And, I'm sure he'd get it from some sort of like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's get Rush the vaccine.
Oh, you mean like some place in West Hollywood, just a clinic?
Yeah, just some place where you can buy it
Yeah.
outright.
Which, by the way, as we predicted, happened. There has already been a clinic found to be selling the vaccine that they got to give out to patients. So
yeah. I don't know. Generally speaking, I don't think any of I can understand the president.
Incoming and outgoing.
Yeah, the vice president. Like, these people should be vaccinated because it doesn't do them good to get COVID.
Yeah, by the way, it caused a crisis in the markets. It caused international crisis when Trump went in.
Yeah.
And then he got steroids and started acting like a roid rager, which is also not good.
Right.
And Joe seems pretty calm, but I don't want to see what he looks like when he's just like, give me my fucking sandwich.
Do you want to see me lift this Chevy? Joe, no.
Strokes out in the driveway. What happened to the president? He tried to lift the limo. He got out and started running right beside us. I don't know what happened.
The beast weighs 5,000 pounds.
Nope. I can lift it. But yeah, there's a reason why they
sandwich is under there.
There's a reason they need it. But Marco Rubio, you're not that fucking important. You're one of 100 senators. We could replace you, and God, I hope they do in 2 years. But I wanted to specifically touch on Marco, not only because he's a hypocrite, and not only because we pointed out he was a hypocrite last week, and then he felt like he needed to show us that we were right and did it again.
Right.
But because I realized 4 years ago, not 5 years ago-ish, I may have said that Marco Rubio was a good choice for president, and that in lieu of voting for Trump, you should vote for Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
And I just want to point out that we've all had periods of insanity in our life, and that we shouldn't be blamed for saying ignorant things in the past when we are willing to come forward and admit them. And I admit that was a wrong decision. And I say now to Marco Rubio what I say to almost all members of Congress. I will build a guillotine out in the National Mall, and you will be first in line. And
There's
Marco,
a lot of first in line.
Listen, it's going to be a real long one. I'm going to make one with a long trough because I got a lot of first in line people to go.
I don't think you should be too offended about at one point having thought Marco Rubio was a different person than he was, because he literally was.
Yeah.
Like, he's a completely different person than the person who ran for president 4 years ago.
Oh, I mean, Ted Cruz hated Trump, and Trump called his wife all kinds of names, and then he stumped for him. So.
But Ted Cruz has always been an opportunist.
Yeah.
He's always been wherever the wind blows. So you could see that in him. There was a part of Marco Rubio, at least 4 years ago, where it was sort of like, you felt like he might have a John McCain moment, like where he says, like, no, does the no vote.
Yes.
Like, it is like, it throws the whole thing into chaos because nobody expected Marco to be the one. Like, but he's so principled on this thing that he believes in. And that's all out the window. And I mean, more than anything, that tweet after he gets a vaccine, which, by the way, funded by the public.
Yeah, we paid for it. Yeah.
All the vaccines technically are paid by the public, but his specifically.
And his healthcare, all his healthcare.
Yeah. I just don't. This tweet feels a lot like the Ted Yoho calling AOC a bitch.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to get so much further and make so much more money and fundraising and stuff like that by throwing Fauci under the bus. Even though I'm sure if you knew Marco Rubio and like you just like you're his brother or something like that, and you're just like, hey, should I really be listening to Fauci? It's like, yes, he's the leading expert in the National Institute of Health. Like, of course, the top infectious disease expert. You should be listening to him. And then in the same moment, walk outside and just be like, fuck Fauci. Like, there's no, he's just doing this to either A, raise money, B, raise his profile, C, have us talk about him on our podcast, which apparently launches things into the stratosphere because his Target got fined right after we talked about it. I'm sure all this does is further people talking about Marco Rubio, whether or not they're calling him hypocrite or not. And if you're getting leftist people angry at you, then you've kind of succeeded in what you're trying to do.
I guess so.
And I mean, like, realistically, we're going to talk about COVID in just a second here. But the idea of herd immunity was never a great idea, and certainly doesn't work because there's plenty of evidence from countries like Sweden, I think was the one who tried it. And
it worked relatively well in Sweden, where they have a homogeneous population of all Scandinavian people, and they have a low population based on landmass, and they all live in cities, and then they shut the fuck down for 4 weeks. which is how it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't work when you do what we do.
Yeah.
But I hear you and I agree. I think Marco Rubio's brother should do exactly what my sister would do. And as a reminder, my sister has in the past, and I love her and I forgive her for this, caught me napping on the floor, jumped on my back and banged my head into the floor until my mom pulled her off, locked me out of the house for an entire afternoon, and then also chased me around with a knife because I said something mean to her. So Marco's brother, whose name I don't know, just...
Narco Rubio.
I mean, I didn't want to go with that because Hispanic and the connotations, but, you're a bold man. You say bold things. I'm just saying there's a little bit of inspiration there. But, I also want to make sure we have time to talk about a little topic. I don't know if, Corey, you've heard about this. I don't know if the people at home have heard about this, but we're having a pandemic.
What?
There's this virus out there. It is the
COVID-19?
Coronavirus. It's the MERS coronavirus novel 19.
Yeah.
And it's been impacting the world for a bit now. A few people have contracted it. A couple of people have died. And people don't give a fuck anymore.
No.
And I say that because...
And by people, you mean hundreds of thousands of people.
I mean, I mention it as if it must be new information because based on what I saw this weekend, it clearly must be new information to people because they're lining up in airports, they're traveling home. I don't understand. I don't understand.
So we were talking in the pre-show about neuroticism and how, like, I think that neurotics have kind of gone from everyone's out to get me to the government. There's a big plot by the government. Like, it's gone very, like, everyone's out to get me to QAnon real quick.
Yeah.
But I think there's a level of neuroticism that everyone should sort of put into place where maybe go off of what the most restrictive rules are anywhere in the country at any given moment, even if you live in a place that is more wide open than that place. Like, because I think people are going to do exactly what they're allowed to get away with. And, a lot of people are going to do whatever they want, regardless of whether or not there's rules in place or, mandates to wear masks or anything. Like, just like 20%, 30% of people are just not going to fucking do anything.
Yeah.
And it feels like I never remember reading about the 1918 flu pandemic and them talking about how a good portion of the country was just like, fuck this pandemic, like, it's not real, and like, I'm not gonna wear a mask. And maybe it's just because history is written by the winners and
no.
there's not time to talk
that
about all that.
Absolutely happened.
Did it?
The
to the
city
same
of
extent?
Philadelphia said we are gonna have our parade no matter what. They had a huge outbreak. The rest of the country looked at them and said, oh, and shut the fuck down. So there was a group, they did that, and then everyone else learned their lesson. But the problem is that we are far less connected than they were in 1918. So news is traveling so slowly today that we just don't see the news stories coming.
If
from
only
other
we
cities.
had the internet like we did in 1918.
Yes. If only information could spread as fast as it did via, telegraph wire and early phones that you had to...
And messenger on horse.
And trains. But yeah, if only I could call Corey by saying... Yeah, Los Angeles, Gary Val 725 to get a hold of him. So
somebody get me Paul Revere. I need to tell Rob we're meeting at Sbarro's for lunch.
Yes. But if you've missed the news, busiest travel day of the year, this Sunday.
Yeah.
This just past Sunday, the day where everyone traveled home after Christmas. Good news. The week before, when watching the news coverage, I saw they were doing interviews with people at the airport. And the number one reason for travel was basically people saying they were tired of the virus, that it had been a terrible year. They needed their family and they needed to feel some comfort after the year that they've had. And they're just sick and tired of being at home and in the virus. And I just wanted to scream at my TV, like,
you're potentially killing all the people you care about. Like, you'll never see them again if you go...
Enjoy it.
Home now.
It's the last time. Yeah. Make good memories because it's the last time you see them. And oh, by the way, if you want to be tired next Christmas, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
You just keep traveling and keep doing just enough to get exhausted by it. And then every 6 months get broken and go travel.
Yeah.
And it will continue forever until, God bless, evolution. This thing evolves to where it kills half the people who get it, and then we'll be done with it. And also, we'll be done as a species and
population.
I can only hope. I continue to hope for that. But Corey doesn't. Just the position of the podcast is that we don't hope
that
for
nobody dies.
a mass extinction event. That's just me. I personally hope for that.
But only because it would prove your vision of how stupid people are correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just don't want me to be right. Yeah, Corey, like everyone else in this world, doesn't want me to be proven right.
No, I just want you to be like the classic Twilight Zone where everyone dies of coronavirus, and you're all by yourself, and then all of a sudden you get coronavirus.
No, the irony is that I get like the common cold, and there's no doctors left, and I'm so sick, and I just want to feel well again, and all I can find is coronavirus vaccine. Oh God, I feel like there's something creeping.
Where's the NyQuil?
I need to get off of here. I got to write something up, Corey. I got something I'm working. But listen, we're tired.
Yeah,
we wanted to go home. I'm sick of being inside. We're trying to plan a getaway, and Corey's Mr. Paranoid and doesn't want to go anywhere.
I watch videos of people walking around Las Vegas, and I gnaw my arm off, like just trying to keep myself from booking $24 hotel rooms and.
By the way, secretly
going where the happy people are.
Neurotic, secretly paranoid. I am convinced that the one day that we book is also the day that everyone else who's been just holding back is just like, I'm going to do it. And we're going to show up there and just going to be like wall-to-wall people, like, turn this bitch around. Let's go home.
You know, I kind of had that feeling because I was watching one of the. By the way, if anyone needs great Las Vegas YouTube channels, hit me up. I got a list.
He's got a lot.
I know all the people. I know all the movers and shakers in Vegas.
Hit that subscribe button to get the newest video.
There was one I was watching where he does live streams of the Strip and stuff like that, or like at various places in Vegas, and it was Saturday right after Christmas, so 2 days ago, as the recording of this podcast. 3 days if you listen on Tuesday, which you should. I don't know why you wouldn't. The number of people there, he even explained, he was just like, oh, this is more people than I usually see on a Saturday here. And it wasn't a lot of people. I mean, it certainly wasn't Vegas at peak. It certainly didn't feel like
more than I'm comfortable with,
a normal Vegas Saturday.
More than I'm comfortable with right now.
Yeah, more than I'm comfortable with, though, too. And part of my logic was when I was thinking about it, like at various times throughout the course of this whole pandemic, where I was just like, Christmas might be the time to sneak away to Vegas. Because who's going to be going to Vegas on Christmas? It's already dead that time of year.
Now, and historically, that's right. You've been there a couple times during Christmas, and it's been just empty. Well, pretty empty.
I was there like Christmas Eve one year.
Drop me off at the airport to go. Yeah.
And we went to the hockey game, and it was very dead there. There was hardly anybody in Vegas, and it was the normal times. It wasn't.
Yeah, airport wasn't dead, by the way, because everybody was leaving town to go wherever they're from. Miscalculated on that on my part, but yeah.
You still saved like $150 on the flight, though.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. But I don't know what to say to people anymore. At this point.
How about this? How about some raw facts?
The other problem is I don't feel like saying things to people, though, either. That's the other problem with this.
Fuck 'em, Corey.
I used to be the petty person who would, if you parked in the handicap space at work, I would get on the microphone and announce your plate out loud, and I'd be like, person with the Ford Taurus is parked in a handicap spot. Please move your car out of the handicap spot. And
you feel bad when the guy in the wheelchair wheels himself out of the restaurant?
One of the times it was Andy Harris. And I did it multiple times.
That does not surprise me at all.
Not only that, but do you know this about members of Congress? Their cars' license plates just say like U.S. government, and then it just says like MD1 for like Harris's
District
car.
1.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I was just going out there like, with the person who has the U.S. government issued car with the license plate Maryland District 1, please move your car out of the handicap parking space.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Did it multiple times. He didn't give a shit.
Nope.
At some point, I feel like I'm gonna like tell one of the many Andy Harris stories that I tell, and then like it's just gonna like break out. Like just all of a sudden, Justin Fenton's gonna be like, heard this on a podcast this week.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden it blows up. People are calling me for Andy Harris stories. I'm like, I've literally said it on the podcast for years.
Here's the problem. Much like you pointed out earlier, it's only going to get him votes in District 1. Only going to be like, fuck them. Nah, they are lazy. Need to go get a job.
I like people who take up handicap spots.
Them handicaps need to learn to walk too. I got to get up. I can't do the accent if I'm laughing. Right?
As the person says in the chair they haven't left in years.
Yes. You're at home on Social Security. I earned that Social Security. I worked for 4 years when I was in my 20s.
I worked at the post office for 7 months and then I slipped on concrete.
But here, I don't want to preach at people, but I'm just want to give them raw facts.
Yeah.
The United States has at 375 approximately million people, has 4.25 percent of the world's population.
Yeah.
We now, as of this past week, have 20% of the COVID cases. 20%.
Yeah.
We have 18.5, which I almost rounded up, but I said, you know what? 18.5 sounds just as bad as 20%. 18.5% of the deaths. So that means we are less than 5% of the population, and we make up nearly a fifth of the deaths and at least a fifth of the cases. Mm-hmm. And at what point are we just going to say, how are we getting it so wrong? Now, I know I can hear you conservatives screaming at your radio devices right now. I know China's underreporting. Russia's underreporting. Mm-hmm. Everyone's underreporting.
Florida's underreporting.
Florida's underreporting. Texas is underreporting.
That's a country in this world, right? Florida?
Yeah, definitely. California, by the way, underreported the last few days because they realized they had some sort of spectrum outage at the facility and just never hit reset. So
they did that before too. There was numbers being underreported in the middle of the summer, and all of a sudden it looked like California figured it out. Like,
yeah. Weird.
So it's like we had a 30% drop in COVID cases. We're doing great. Then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, that's right. We didn't count these 200,000 cases.
Sorry.
My bad.
Sorry.
And then Gavin Newsom was just like, hey, let's move on from that as quickly as possible. I'm going to ban that menthol cigarettes. Fuck Corey.
Stay under the cover of all those less cases.
And then all the people were just like, yeah, fuck Corey.
Meanwhile, in Florida, as you point out, yes, they were actively fraudulently making numbers by doing things like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Run the positive cases today against all the tests, not just taken today. Just all the tests we've ever taken. And just that keeps our positivity rate real low. And in fact, it goes down every day, which was great until it actually started going up, even against that. And you're like, all right, well, how can we change this? We're just going to change the numbers. And as a message to everyone who said, hey, the cops are just good guys. They'd never, do something really bad, like come in my home and point guns at my children for no reason. The woman who was pointing out that they were fraudulently putting in numbers, the cops came in her house and pointed guns at her children. Yeah. So for what? Because she was fraudulently pointing out, because the governor told them to.
Yeah, that's something tells me it wasn't the governor directly. It was the governor loudly saying out loud to anyone who would listen, and then one person takes it upon the other, and then blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Woman's got children's guns in children's faces, and then...
Yeah, and by the way, props to her husband, who was apparently upstairs and wouldn't come downstairs, and he's like, you have a gun pointed at my kids. Come downstairs. You have a gun pointed at my children. Yeah. I'm not going to get out from in between you and them when you're pointing a gun at them.
Right.
So they raided her house and took her documents because we all know, as the Washington Post says in its byline or whatever, the truth thrives in darkness. So we need to take her data and make sure that stays hidden, because that's how we make sure we get the most accurate numbers. But the good news is, if there is good news out of that story and everything to come from COVID, relief is coming, because in his benefactory, is that the word? Benefactoriness? This nature of being a benefactor?
Yeah.
The president, of course, as soon as it hit his desk, signed that mutually agreed upon COVID relief bill that we discussed last week. And there's going to be no interruption in benefits. There is no interruption in pay, and those checks are going out this week.
Yeah, about that.
Oh, sorry. I always get this wrong. I don't know.
You always just assume things that end up being wrong. I don't
Because
know.
people are good, right? People are just naturally good. I don't know why that wouldn't be true.
Real quick before we get into that a little bit, I just wanted to point out something just for the sake, because we were talking about Korea, South Korea before. They, on the 24th, had the most cases in one day that they've had
Since the beginning.
Yeah. With 1,237 cases.
Because there was a super spreader event. A single event that they had.
You can see one event around August that spikes them, and then it goes back down, and now it's going up like everyone is going up.
Yeah.
But still, 1,200 cases out of 50 million people.
Not bad.
It's a pretty good number, especially considering that Los Angeles had, 12,000 cases the other day? Just in one day, all by themselves. 10 million people.
There's 8 million people in the metro in that Los Angeles County. So what is that per cap? Oh wait, no.
That's less. I forgot. That's less. We have 1/5 the people of South Korea.
That's how it works.
Somehow we have 10 times the number of cases in one day as they do.
Yeah.
It's just.
By the way, they also have like 6G there. It's just like super gig internet everywhere you go.
Holograms everywhere.
Gosh, I need to move to
They're
Korea.
back to life. Like, there's so many countries in the East. And again, even as I point out to you, Africa. There's countries that don't have highways in Africa that have figured out COVID better than we have.
Yep.
And this isn't to slam countries that don't have the money to build highways and stuff like that. Everyone lives their own life, and I'm not trying to criticize. But you'd think that America, where everyone looks to us to figure out all these problems, would have a better grasp on this whole thing.
As you pointed out, though,
it's almost like we had like a fucking toddler running the running the executive.
Also, he wants to be a dictator, and South Korea, some African countries have that. They have that history of dictatorial power in the guise of democracy, where, like in South Korea, they say, "Hey, everybody, stay home." And then a guy with a machine gun comes riding down the street in a Jeep, and you stay the fuck home.
Yeah.
In America, they say stay home, and a guy with a machine gun, exists
Goes
somewhere.
to the state capitol and argues.
I was going to say, and you feel like you need to get your machine gun and then march on the state capitol without a mask and then try to kidnap the governor and hold her for ransom or something. So a little different. It's just a little different.
It's called a kangaroo court. How are we supposed to do without a kangaroo?
Why are we going to go to the zoo after you kidnapped her?
Ted Cruz.
But COVID relief is on the way.
Yeah.
The bill got passed. I was joking before. The president let it sit on his desk because he had important matters of state, like putting and driving and his mid-game that he had to work on. There were some very important sand traps that had to be dealt with in South Florida.
Yep.
Because, as we know, he spent 8 years asking why Obama was golfing so much, only to become president and then spend 3 times more days on the links than Obama spent. And by the way, Obama had 8 years and he's had 4. And nothing says we're in the middle of a crisis like the president playing golf with his corporate donors while, 12,000 people have a case.
The one question that constantly pops up in my mind is, why would you fight so hard to overturn the results of the election to remain president if in the time between the election and now you have done literally almost nothing to actually, like, that results are from being president of the United States? Like, there hasn't been he hasn't been out front on the COVID relief package or anything like that. He's not done anything except for complaining about it once it was done.
There are men, specifically men, who would challenge and fight and scream and stomp their feet because they lost the smallest dick contest. And they're not admitting that they were right, but if there's going to be a contest,
I want to win.
I'm going to win. I don't want to take second. If you're going to knock me out in the first round, that's fine. But if you're going to put me into the finals, I want to be the winner.
I know it's not the biggest, so I might be in competition. Let's just
see where I
stand.
am. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, it's not about what the goal is.
Yeah.
It's he doesn't want to lose.
Right.
He doesn't lose. He's not a loser. The losers are the ones who, go to Afghanistan and Iraq and die for their country.
Yeah.
Those are the losers. He
right.
didn't have to do that because he has bone spurs. But yeah, I don't want to take too much time. We talked about it a little bit. Oh, I did find a little graph, and I do want to put that up here just quickly. I didn't have it last week, but a little breakdown of everything that's in the relief bill. You can see that the largest portion is for small businesses. Then there is a middle portion is the workers' families, which includes the PPP program as well as the payments to individuals, that kind of stuff. Schools get money, and then there's a bunch of other allocations for a bunch of other stuff. But the bill as it stands is $600 for individuals, $1,200 for couples who file jointly, and then $600 additionally for every child. For children,
if you make less than $80,000 a year or something.
Yeah, for children do not count, and you have to make less than $75,000, or I think it's 100, and it's not exactly double. It's like 135 or something like that
for a couple.
For a couple. So, but then Trump, one of the reasons he wanted to delay is he said it's not enough. We need $2,000 payments.
Yeah.
Which the Democrats in the House obliged him today and made the payments $2,000. And Mitch McConnell promptly said, "We're gonna have a vote on that $600 bill." Well, yeah, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Leader, they bumped it up to 2,000. Like 600 sounds like a fair amount, if you ask me. So we're gonna be taking a vote on that, and yeah. So
my favorite meme of this whole time has been the Arrested Development one of like, it's 9 months rent. What could it cost? $600?
Yes. And that's, again, going back to Marco Rubio, that's a bunch of people who are elites trying to act like they're not elites by saying that other people are acting like elites, and none of them have any concept of anything. Trump doesn't, and by the way, Trump doesn't want to give you $2,000 because it's $2,000 or anything. It's because it's more than the Democrats were asking for, and it's more than they offered in the beginning. So
here's what I think of as of elite, personally. Here's my barometer. How much can you get done with phone calls or like with people that you have in your network somehow? You know, like,
yeah.
I remember I used to be friendly with a guy who ran the parking lot at Oriole Park.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to go up and ask him like, "Hey, I'm going to go buy some tickets. You mind if I park in the lot for a few?" Yeah. He wasn't supposed to let me, but he'd do it all the time. He'd just I'd talk with him for a couple minutes, and then now I have a relationship.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about, my influence, my sphere of influence, he's somebody I could reach upon if I need to park for a few minutes at Camden Yards. That's not quite the same as like knowing the governor.
Yeah.
But it's a little thing. I think elitism is the people who can call the governor.
Yeah,
like people who know somebody who knows somebody who knows the governor. Like that's
and maybe not in California because apparently all it takes is being a French guy with some dirty laundry, and then he can get hold of the governor here. But
all you need some expensive dirty laundry, and then all of a sudden
seems to be the same way everywhere.
I wonder if they're Rams uniforms.
Exactly. But the reason I really wanted to bring this up is because Trump waited just long enough that it's possible that unemployment benefits won't kick this week, which means people are going to lose 1 week of benefit payments. The checks that could have gone out before the end of the year now absolutely will not. There's no way they can do it before next year.
Yeah.
And because he threw this wrench in about $2,000, it now means that the bill is in some quasi form because the House passed it in the form that it existed, but then came back and passed it again, giving the Senate the ability to pass either one. So
it's probably just a separate bill saying increasing from $600 to $2,000, or just give people an extra $1,400 would probably be the easier way of just
when they go into conference, they could, if they both passed in both houses, they basically just smash all that together in conference, and the president already signed it, so we're good. Or the president said he would. He agreed to it. So, but in the end, this is what I like to call the cruelty of the rich, because he was always going to do it, but he wanted to do it in a way that made you suffer and cost him nothing and did him no benefit.
Yeah.
But just made you suffer a little bit. It made you earn it.
It made you worry that you were going to get to that line.
You did, and you didn't earn it by doing anything. You earned it through suffering. And that's really what it comes down to, because even the people who, by the way, are also in line with you at the welfare office, who look at you and say, I don't know why she's here, but the fuck are you here for, man? Yeah. Why are you judging people who we're all here? But they're the ones who are I bet she's faking her slips when they got their friend to fill out the slip that says they're trying to get it. That's those people. But it's just I just want you to suffer. to get the thing that you deserve to have. And I don't understand those people. I never will. I mean, those are the people, just specifically, I understand that more liberal, more democratic people are the ones wearing masks and staying safe. So when I say, hey, if this virus could just kill half the people who get it, understand which half I'm talking about that would get it and would make the country better off by not being here. But it's the earning the relief, the thing that we needed. And the most interesting part of all of this is that somebody ran the numbers, and I saw this again today, where it said, with this stimulus and the previous stimulus and all the economic loss, if we just shut down for 8 weeks at the very beginning and paid no rent for you, and we're going to pay your staff, and everybody gets paid, and by the way, groceries delivered to the home, special kits once a week, you get a delivery or whatever, everybody stay inside. It would have been cheaper to do that than what we've done thus far.
Yeah.
But Americans prefer this slow bleed where it's like, I'm independent.
It wouldn't have worked, though, either. That's the problem.
Even if we shut down the borders.
Even if you set it up like that.
If you shut down the
there
borders.
still would have been people who are like, you can't keep me out of my fucking house.
Then we lock them up.
Or where they go to church or whatever they argue that they are allowed to do at that moment. Like,
That's why we need. I keep arguing for the benevolent dictator, Corey, and I keep saying, if you give me 18 years, I will give you a perfect country. These are the things. Like, yeah, but I want to go to church. Great. I got the perfect thing for you.
Only operating Daytons are allowed to do that.
We have a what is it called?
Denominational.
Non-denominational chapel right there in the prison complex. Go grab your scrubs. You're heading inside because I have no patience for that. I talked at one time about building big camps out in West Texas, and it's not for anyone of any gender or any race. It's Camp Asshat and Camp Stupid, and they're going to be on both sides of a railroad spur, but they'll both have non-denominational chapels where we have services every single day. So both sides are dumb. People are. It's not both sides. It's one side. The leadership of that side is dumb, and so are the people who are in it. And I'm so frustrated.
I think that Democrats are dumb though too. That there's no way that.
Democrats are Republicans. From my perspective, Democrats are. Nancy Pelosi is a real liberal Republican. So
no, I get where you're coming from, but I'm saying like I think that I think while you would say you could say that more Republicans are taking this less seriously than Democrats. Mm-hmm. I don't. There are plenty of Biden votes that I see out and about every single day of people who aren't wearing their mask properly or not wearing their mask or feel like it doesn't apply to them. Like I think it has less to do necessarily with like where you lean politically as much as it does to your general levels of selfishness and like how much it revolves around you, like
I believe in 2016 we proposed some sort of test-based voting method where I would get 1.1 million votes and someone would have to try real hard to get their one vote. Like if I break the curve, some people just aren't voting and I'm getting all their votes. Mm-hmm. I think we should go back to that. Can we in the future, let's discuss that because I just realized
electoral college where 1/5 of it is just you.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to nominate myself to
where are the electors from Rob Cheek going?
Yeah. I'd like to have so much control over the vote that I could just nominate myself for president. And then I've now figured out how to become the benevolent dictator. That is how we do it. But again, that guy, the guy who's wearing the mask on his chin because he thinks he's outsmarted the system. Like, I got a mask. Yeah. You're not helping you. You're not helping me. What the fuck's wrong with you? That guy gets a vote. And he can just X out my vote.
Yeah.
My vote doesn't count because of his. How is that a fair system? Where's the equity, Corey?
Well, talk about equity. Like, where's the equity and people in Florida having more of an important vote than me, or like that's the.
I agree. Genocide Florida, Corey. I hear what you're saying. We absolutely should do
or
that.
Or maybe we just
burn the entire South from Dallas all the way to the sea like Sherman intended.
Or perhaps just tell all your friends to move to Florida and we can fix it from the inside.
No, it's like a virus. If they move there, they'll become that. That's the problem. I don't want to lose my friends.
Next time you see them, they're just going to be like, oh, what's going on down Florida? Just like, oh, no, we lost him.
Next time I see him, he's jumping off a second floor balcony into a pool, and I'm like, God.
Looking like James Franco from Spring Breakers. Like, no,
We lost him.
Rob was such a good boy before he moved to Miami.
Yeah, that's what my parents are saying about LA right now. Anyway, yeah. So, but keep an eye out. Dumb people everywhere. COVID checks and that stuff. So
Yeah.
But we do have one other, obviously one topic, and I know we're running long already, but there is always time for SportsBall.
SportsBall, yeah. All right. So the Ravens are in this situation. Win and you're in. That's it.
Best situation to be in.
There's a way we can still make the playoffs if we lose and the Browns lose and the Colts lose and a bunch of other situations could end up with the Ravens still in the playoffs. But the easiest way to think about it is win and you're in. And it appears win and maybe be as high as the 5th seed, hypothetically. So
with the losses that may be attributed. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like the Ravens can cause some trouble if they get into the playoffs. So just focus on Cincinnati. Don't take your eyes off the prize. You got 1 week ahead of you to determine whether or not you're going to the playoffs. And let's do it. Let's not lose sight of it. I think the Steelers overlooked the Bengals when they got beat on Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And I think the Steelers aren't as good as they were when they were playing their cake schedule early in the season. Not saying they don't deserve to be in the playoffs or anything like that. They're a good team. I'm just saying I don't think they're quite as good as they looked.
They didn't look like it on
coming
Sunday,
in.
at
Yeah.
least, you know.
So, like let's see what happens. Like let's make a move. And we've said this before too. Earlier in the season, the Ravens started 5-1, I believe it was. And the numbers came out where it was like the last 2 times the Ravens finished 5-1, they ended up winning the Super Bowl.
But
both of those seasons came out of the wild card. Mm-hmm. They didn't even end up winning the division after starting 5-1. So I there's no reason that it can't happen like this, that it can't work and that we can't find ourselves in the playoffs and eventually in a Super Bowl. Just you gotta they really have to want it. They really gotta focus.
Baltimore, we never take the easy way. It's gotta be the hardest goddamn
Kicking
way
and
possible.
screaming.
Yeah, just we don't even have who's your quarterback? We don't have one. We just snap the ball and hope for the best. Who's gonna be back there to catch it? But our defense real good. They put up points.
So who's your offense? Matt Stover. Have you met him? He's the kicker.
We just got to get it somewhere inside the 50, and we're okay. We got this Dilfer guy. He's okay at that. But yeah, and what I had said during our pre-show meeting is I love winning you're in, because if you can't win that last week of the season, which is usually a conference game, then you shouldn't be in the playoffs anyway. Yeah. Because the likelihood is you're not going to be able to compete against the number 3 or number 4, I guess, depending on which slot you end up in, team. Now, that's maybe not true if you're in the NFC, because the NFC, almost all divisions, are embarrassing. And I am putting this out there officially. I would like the Washington future football team to move to the AFC North and have Baltimore move into the NFC East, because I would like us to just make the playoffs every single year.
I just want to have a New England run.
Yeah, just straight to the conference championships every single year. Because, by the way, we're frustrated that we're on the bubble at 11-5, 12-5, or 11-6. No, 11-6 we probably would make it. 12-5 gets us in, but 12-5 puts us in the lead by far of the NFC East.
Number 1 seed in the NFC.
Also NFC South and NFC North. I think the West, no, because
no, I think the best record is 12-5 right now.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
I think the Packers are 12-5.
You're right. Yep. And it would be the North, because the Seahawks are at 11.
Yeah, all this time we were complaining about it. I never even looked at the standings of the two side by side.
Yep,
so maybe this will be the moment that I get really angry just live on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I was watching the Cardinals game.
I was gonna say, what do the Cards have? What is their record going into
Packers are 12-3, by the way.
Okay.
And the Ravens right now are 10-5.
Wait, 12-3 with a tie, or they have a COVID game that they didn't play?
No, it's a 16-week season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aren't we 11-5 right now?
We have 1 week left. No, 10-5.
10-5. Okay.
Yeah. So we're 2 games back of the Packers, hypothetically. But 10-5 is the same record as the Bucks. So we'd be the South champion. Way better than anybody in the East who's potentially going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean,
6-6 going into the playoffs.
I mean, I was watching the Cardinals game, and I was just like, this team's going to fucking make the playoffs.
Yep.
And I'm like, the Ravens are, like it looked like we would be able to beat the Giants and the Bengals and move on. But like at the same time, I'm just like, we're over here hoping that it happens. And meanwhile, the Arizona's going to back their way into it, and they just don't look like they deserve to be in the playoffs at all.
No.
The whole NFC is very fraudulent in my mind. And not saying that these teams aren't good or that they don't deserve to be in the playoffs, but it's very fraudulent over here.
But keep in mind, they've been playing other bad teams a lot. Like, their conferences are all bad. So,
I mean, that's why the Bears are in it. They play the Lions twice a year. So, like, it's 2 wins right there.
We used to be able to say that. We used to be like, we play Cleveland twice a year, so it's a wash. That ain't true anymore. Right. And the Bengals are the worst team in the AFC North, and they're not that bad.
No.
They beat the what's going to be the champions of the division. So it's odd that things have broken the way they have, but at some point, don't we have to have a shakeup and just move? Like, why is Indy in the AFC South? Makes no sense. They're further north than we are.
Yeah.
Why are the teams anywhere that they are? Mostly
because they were, when they added in teams, they wanted to even out the divisions. Because it was there was a division that had 4, I think, at one point.
Yeah. And they added, it went from Central East-West to Central East-West North.
Yeah.
Right?
Or they turned the Central into South and North.
South and North,
yeah.
right, yeah. But listen to this. Let's do what hockey did. Let's just forget about
have one conference with all the one division with all the Canadian teams.
Oh, no. I was going to say, let's find something they have in common. In hockey, it's Canada. I'm thinking about the murder conference. Baltimore, Detroit, who else has a high murder rate? Oakland. Oh, they don't have a team anymore. But you get the murder capitals of the United States and put their teams in, because then I look at that and I say, well, Baltimore's probably going to dominate that conference.
Something tells me Steve Bisciotti want to be wild about being in the murder conference. I mean, so the NHL this year, because they're going to do a season, but they're not going to do it in the bubble.
Yeah.
They're only having teams play teams within their general geographic area. So
it's just Canada's playing Canada.
Yeah, so it's like weird divisions this year, but literally every Canadian team is in one division by itself.
Because there's only 5 of them, right? So
there's 7?
No. British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Ontario.
You're just counting.
Well, they only have 1 team each.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
No.
Quebec has 1 team.
There's Montreal. There's Toronto. There's Calgary. There's Winnipeg. There's Vancouver. Who else am I missing? I don't know.
That is all of them, and there is 1 per
making me
province.
Pull up the NHL now.
There might be 2 in Ontario, but Saskatchewan. I can't remember the other skinny one that's in the middle.
You're thinking about the CFL, I think there.
Nope. Winnipeg is in Saskatchewan.
Yeah. So here's the ones.
Okay.
Now I got to pull it up in front of me.
And we're gonna go by province.
I forgot 2 of them.
Okay. So
Calgary,
all right.
Edmonton, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Vancouver, Winnipeg.
All right. So Calgary. So there are 2 in Ontario, 2 in Quebec, and then 3 in other.
Edmonton and
provinces.
Calgary are both in Saskatchewan, right?
Oh, I thought Calgary was in Ontario.
No.
That's when I was counting for Ontario.
No,
so
Calgary is out west.
2 in Saskatchewan, 1 in Ontario, 2 in Quebec. Montreal and Toronto are both in Quebec, right? Nope. Toronto is in Ontario.
Yeah, Toronto's in Ontario.
Nonetheless, it's not a lot of teams.
Watch us
That's
do
my
all
point.
the geography.
Yes.
You're dealing with some geography nerds when we spend time to go like, no, we're going to fucking look at this and figure it out.
But by the way, I am arguing without being able to remember all the Canadian provinces because there's too many skinny ones in the middle. And you know what? You should be lucky you're not states, all right?
I'd like to imagine there's just one Oiler fan listening to us just still at this point just going like, the oil, you forgot about the oil.
By the way, in 1680, 1780, no, 1860, the Hudson Bay Company offered to sell their holdings in America to the United States government. And a sale went through, but before the money could be transferred, the Crown intervened and said, no, you must sell to us. So it's possible that everything that is not Nova Scotia, New Princeland or whatever, Newfoundland,
New Brunswick,
and New Brunswick, because Quebec was its own company. Yeah. Everything east or west of that could be just United States. So consider yourself either lucky because shit's been crazy
or
here
fortunate.
The last 4 years, or
unlucky
because you don't get to be part of the United States. So.
But yeah, just generally speaking, this whole NHL or NFL situation is weird, and the 7th team though is really making things interesting. I like this. I like how there's so much more at play now. Yeah. Even though we complain all the times about like the NBA and NHL just eliminating the Clippers and the Wizards in past years, so the NFC especially, because a team with double-digit losses could hypothetically be the champion.
See, I dislike it for that. I like it because
the 5-10 Giants, who hypothetically could be 6-10, could win the division. All it would take is a loss by the Cowboys and the Washington almost professional football team.
But see, that is not about the 7 team because they're going to win the division, and division leaders always got in the playoffs.
Yeah,
but that also means somebody with a less than 6-10 record might make the playoffs. So,
I mean. Right now, the last one on the bubble is who isn't an NFC East team is the Cardinals. It's 8-7. They're on the outside looking in.
Okay,
but
they might be 8-8. They might have an even record to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
but again, that makes me say.
Meanwhile, a 10-5 team or a 10-6 team isn't making, or an 11-6 team isn't making it.
That makes me hate the 7-team playoff. But then the other side, I say, but there's so many deserving teams in the AFC. We should expand it. And the answer to that, NFL, is to shuffle things up and put, not shuffle too much, but just put Baltimore in the NFC East and Washington in the AFC North.
There he is. We solved it.
I think it solves every problem. And it makes for a fun Super Bowl because you're going to have Mahomes versus Jackson for the next decade.
Wonderful. What else could you ask for?
Yo, why do you want that AFC? Do you remember Brady?
Eli?
Nope. Other one. The older brother.
Peyton?
Yes.
Oh, in the AFC Championship every time?
It was Brady Peyton, and it's AFC Championship, and nobody cares about the Super Bowl? Why would you want that? Yeah. No. Move Lamar, a franchise player, over
just
to
move
the
team.
I mean, the team. Yeah, not just play. Move the team.
Don't just move Lamar to Philly just to solve your problem.
I mean, they do need a quarterback. But yeah, move the team into the NFC, and then I think problem solved because then it's going to be Mahomes, Jackson, if not Super Bowl, like run to the Super Bowl every single year. You're 2 young, hot stars. It sounds like a PR, not night.
Bonanza.
Bonanza to me. Now, if they end up doing that, I don't know what kind of recompense we can get for that, but I feel like
seats to the Super Bowl is the very least of the
for the rest of our lives. Yes, and travel costs.
Probably, put us in the box right next to Goodell so we can yell at him from across the way.
Not on the jet with him though.
No. I mean, I would separate accommodations.
Yes. Jet and accommodations and. Next box. Not same box. Next box over.
I just want him to be able to hear me go like, "Oh, fuck you, Roger," just throughout the game. I want to be able to do it loud enough that he can hear me. That's all I want. Thank you for giving us the tickets. Fuck you, Roger.
And there go our tickets.
Do you want to know where you can find a lot of other great ideas?
Oh, where's that?
OTheAnthem.com. Core to OTheAnthem.com. O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and the listener line, 443-219-7595.
What's that number again?
443-219-7595. You can find more of me at my website, CoreyBakerFilmmaker.com, Facebook.com/CoreyBakerFilm, and at LegendCB5 on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Part of the new year, new me is coming up with better material to put online, so that is happening right now. In the meantime, you can find more O The Anthem at OTheAnthem.com, O The Anthem on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the listener line, obviously, and anchor.fm/O The Anthem for all the links to the places where you listen to the podcast on whatever podcast app you use.
Mm-hmm. And always on YouTube. And, of course, we are live on Twitch. on Twitter, via Periscope, and Facebook, and YouTube. Every Monday night, you can catch the show live. We take comments, even though I've completely forgotten to check Discord. Only one comment tonight, and I don't care what she has to say because, listen, your Tinder date that's been going on for 5 years now, I understand what her perspective is. But otherwise, you can find me on social media at Robert and Cheek on our social networks. My drought or my abstinence of social media should be up on Friday. And I have already planned kind of what I want to post for my first post.
Are you going to come back? Is this?
I'm going to post because it's going to be done. And what I realize, I've gotten messages from people who said, I sent you something. I'm like, no, you didn't. I'm like checking Slack. I'm checking email. And they're like, oh, I sent it to you on Instagram. I'm like, nope, didn't get it. Notifications are off. So I realize it's a way people get in touch. So I should have at least notifications turned on. But I probably won't be as prolific as I usually am, except maybe the Instagram story, because that's where I share my Tom Hop, and that shit's funny. But you can also go to robertandcheek.com, where you can find links to political blog and news website and all the books which are available on Amazon.
Barrow's Books.
And got a lot of exciting stuff coming up for the new year. Not movie reviews and not podcasts, but working on some stuff, and we'll figure out what it is together. So, I do have a couple videos coming. I remembered why I had waited to do a couple of unboxing style things, and then forgot to do the thing I had to do to release them. So I need to reshoot them now. I'm going to reshoot them and put them out, but they'll be out this week. So.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've done good here today.
We've done something. I don't know if it's good. Many thanks to my mom and my dad for the new camera. Rocking the Logitech Brio. If it looks a little different, we're still working out the kinks, but thank you, Mom and Dad. Hopefully you haven't listened to this point or at all. But as always, you're listening to
the find itself back in the box to send back to Logitech.
Once I got it, they can't put it in returns. I got to be the one to return it.
This thing has been sullied. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad.
Yep. It's so dirty they won't take it back. But as always, you're listening to the O The Anthem podcast, part of the O The Anthem digital network. For Corey, this is Rob. Have a great week, everybody.
All right. Now it's time to release the little tyrant. Baby
tyrant. Oh, Lord. Yeah, I heard him scratching the whole time. There we go.